And I think we're live. What's up, everybody? I'm here with Jay, a super amazing human being, and we wanted to come together to start this building public projects for a bunch of different reasons. But the biggest reason is we want to encourage people to participate and build something cool. But before we dive too much deep into it, Jay, do you want to do a quick intro? Tell us about yourself and what we're doing.
Yes, and quick note, I have just done a total rebranding, Paul. So I had me going by Jay. Now I'm going by Silas Path. So that's where you can find me on the socials. And also, I have experience in supporting SaaS companies. That's where I started. Now I've been freelancing for 3 years on web development, majority of Next.js. And that's been an amazing journey, and I'm currently working on a newsletter that I'm going to be launching this Friday as well about web development in general, including Next.js, other things in the industry. And I organized the next JS ATX meetup where you and I met. So that's been a great connection, as well as us meeting other members in the communities. And I love supporting people in their web development journey, teaching, tutoring, mentoring. And so I'm really excited about what we have going on today.
Yeah, no, that's pretty awesome, and thanks for that. And that's one of the things I wanted to share with folks is getting out there, meeting people on meetups, joining others' discords, collaborating. I know how hard that could be, and building something together sometimes is just takes a whole leap of faith, and we want to encourage all of you to jump on. And so what we're going to do, we're going to build a project in public and share with you what we're doing, but you are able to participate, you're able to upvote or do PRs, give ideas, because right now we have a totally blank project. I'm gonna share it in the link, and we see some people in the chat as well. Here we have Jose, Mateus stopping by, a bunch of folks are joining, which is amazing. And I'm gonna share the repo in the chat, and if you go to it, it is completely blank. There's nothing there. It's besides the README, so there's even no project. So today we're going to talk about kind of planning the idea of what we're going to build. We're going to share with you how you could fork this and start helping us along the way. And so and by the way, in the chat, let us know your ideas, what you would build yourself. But what are we gonna build, Jay? What do you we're thinking about? I know we said events app. Can you talk a little bit more on that?
Well, the goal is to have an app that users will be able to submit an event, and, and then this event is going to be listed, and you will be able to register for it and maybe see who else is going, maybe give it a review.
Nice. I love it. So let's jump right into it, and we'll start having you screen share, and we'll all work through this through Excalibur, try to kind of come up with what that plan would look like. And all of you in the chat, of course, you're able to give feedback to this process. And so let me switch here and bring Jay's screen in here. Cool. So I see hi cool on my screen. So that is perfect. And I'm going to make our heads a little bit smaller so we have more real estate. We have Bram Bogie from our community saying hello from Strapi, which is cool to see some Strapi folks here as well. All right. So for this project, we talked about building events kind of hub or website. And so we decided to go on two of our favorite technologies, Next.js 13, and I decided Strapi would be a good fit. And so why do you think Next 13 is the right tool for the job in your
Yes.
mind?
Yeah, it must be because with Next.js, I've been able to write other apps with users, and I've been able to easily architect a way for users to subscribe to records in a database and easily talk to a database and I enjoy the myriad of ways to do that. The the level of opinion in Next.js is there. It doesn't overreach, though I do appreciate the opinions it has about things like routing, things like static generation, and that's just the start. Then there's still so much room for creativity. So that's why I see it as a great start for a project like this.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome. And I was gonna say that I really appreciate Next.js as well, but I'm also very lazy. And although you could build a full stack application with just Next.js, especially when you have a lot of content that you're going to manage or have, we decided to go with a headless CMS. And all of you know how much I love Strapi. And so today we're gonna combine our minds together and kind of discuss of how we're going to handle that. So starting with our project, and again, in the chat, any suggestions you have, let us know. What do you think? Where should we start in terms of planning?
Let's see. I think it's good to just start with the user flow, and then from there we can start figuring out what's the design of that flow. What would a component look like, and maybe we can choose a few flows, and we should see if our GitHub has that, right? I want to take another look at it. So
Yeah.
let's see again. I'm still sharing um, the Excalibur, right? Yeah, sure am.
Yeah, that's correct. That's still on.
Cool, cool, cool. So
We have Jess telling us you start with the flow charts. You know, a lot of people love flow charts. Everybody's, it's like this is a, very, very, how should I say, raw thinking process. Let's go together. And I think flowcharts are cool. And I think they're important. But I don't want it to be an excuse if someone's like, I don't know what a flowchart is. Doesn't mean that you can't plan out your project. And so what we want to do is kind of just take a note of what we want our users to be able to do. So I see Jay is, kind of writing the flows here.
yeah,
And,
yeah. Mhm.
and
Yeah, so I'm thinking of making another dedicated place to organize this, and we'll just call it flows. So if I said that I want to create an account so I can submit an event, in there is already enough kind of things to think about. Even though they seem so simple, it helps you at least have this written down. So then that's just out of the way, and then like this is a goal, and we're going to make progress based on just checking that we have achieved it. Because when created account, there's auth, and then with auth, they're setting that up. So that's just something to have down in this really simple way. Any thoughts on that?
yeah, no, that sounds perfect. Maybe like we'll continue with this exercise in terms of like a big picture. We know we're going to have auth and ability for people to either log in or register. And then the second part, like you're saying, is the ability to add an event.
Yeah. So I think added event details after you can submit event. Also viewing events. So like a list of those. And let me get this guy. Oh, I wanted you to grow, not to move. Yeah, viewing events. And so I would say this is like a list of events. And the easiest way I'm thinking is like something you scroll down for. So a feed.
Yep. Yep.
List of events, form of a feed. Um, yeah, create an account, submit an event, view events, and I do think anything else. We have a
So if
few
we
other
had to
things.
think of like the type of pages we would have, since Next.js has file-based routing, and we want to represent like if someone goes to our index page, what should they see if they go,
Yeah,
and so if we had to break it down into pages, we're going to have our home page, which will probably show all the events and maybe have a menu to log in or register if you wanted to add an event. I'm assuming that would be a good start.
Yes, indeed. So a homepage um, where this has a sign-in component, a register component. It could list the feed, so people who aren't signed in can view this. Not a bad idea, huh?
Yeah. So we have our list, homepage, sign in page, register page, list of the feed. And maybe we were saying we were going to have a event detail page. So when someone clicks on the event, so we have event detail.
Yeah, and we could even call it then event slash slug or ID, or I think um, ID should be good. Let's do that for now. And then I'll definitely name these as what the directory would look like. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking. Slash home slash event slash ID, because maybe we want an events page. No, I would say we not necessarily need an events page, but we do if I'm going to create a route to the ID. So let's just have that into simple. I would say just listing the feed again.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so
Uh,
So on the homepage, we're going to have the list feed and then sign in and register. Did you want it to be a component on the homepage, or did you want register and login be separate pages that you navigate to?
yeah, well, we're going to allow the homepage to be public, and I've seen other types of apps where the homepage automatically redirects you if you're not authenticated to a sign-in page. Though because we do have a homepage that's available, I would say it's a good idea then to have a sign and register button either in like the hero or in the top right
Yep.
corner.
Perfect. So the idea is we're gonna have a homepage. It's gonna have a hero, and then it's gonna have, like, let's say, a list of events, could be upcoming events, and then inside the hero we're going to have either sign in or register, which will be a link to a sign in or register page. So maybe we could add those as separate pages. So we're gonna have a route to sign in, and we're gonna have a route to register.
Hmm.
So this is definitely like taking shape. So if we take a look at it, and we have our sign in, we have our events, we have our events detail, and maybe we could also have a profile page.
Yeah, so we want that profile page. Let's do that. So, and when you click on profile, it's going to grab your info. Yeah, and it'll display the basic fields as of now: name,
And
your email, and
email.
even events that you've listed, events you have listed.
Yes, that is a great place to start. Um, so I think this is actually a really good start. One thing that I always want to remind myself, and I'm sure everyone here is aware of that, is this concept of scope creep, where you keep adding features and things to a point where your project gets too big and beyond you, and you never end up finishing. And I think, like, we actually, I think with the stuff that we have outlined, I think this will be like a great stopping point, because it's better to start a product that has fewer features that works and deployed than to have a product or project with many features that is not deployed or something that you could show to users. So I think this is a great starting point. What do you think?
Yes, I agree. That one private account person. Thank you. I would add a not found,
Oh, yes,
just
yes.
just just for sake of. I
We
like
totally need
custom
it.
not founds, and we can have a that would
Yeah.
be a good something to vote on. Like, what's a fun not found page? So I'm definitely gonna put something like community, like poll.
It's so funny. Private account when I just saw his message, when he said 404 event not found, I thought like, is the live stream not found? What are you talking like? Oh my gosh, we live. And I think I get it. Yes, we do want to have a 404 page. We also like part of the application. Obviously, it's not a page, but I think to think of it is, um, or maybe actually this is a great question because I don't know if it's the appropriate time to bring it up, but in terms of pages, we should probably, because I believe Next.13 has error page, which is basically an ability for you to give your application a graceful way to fail without breaking the user's experience.
Totally. That's a
And
great idea too.
is that something you would mention in this stage, or would you mention as you're like building out like
I think it's a great idea now, and it can be
okay.
super simple. We can make it also like just a fun one and very simple. And it's fun to see your own error pages. um, and then we can always look in the logs for whatever. But still, it's also just a fun one if people want to chip in and help us customize how that would look. I think it's a great idea. It's really simple for the boilerplate, I would say. Let's just boilerplate that in, add a little something that gives us a flair, and then we move on.
Yeah, no, that is awesome. And so I think with this, we have a pretty good starting point. We know our routes. We kind of know what we want. We want sign in, register, the feed of the events. And so from this point, once you have this layout, I maybe we decided that we're using Next.js, we're using Strapi. How maybe kind of taking a step back and talking about how were we going to style this app, and I'm thinking, do we just do Tailwind?
Basically, yes.
Yes.
Let's
Okay.
use
I
Tailwind.
100% makes sense. I just wanted to bring that up just in case if folks are wondering. But yes, I think Tailwind will be the way. And once you have this outline, I think what we could start to do is think about the design. But actually, the question I have, because this is something that I go back and forth on, and from your experience, do you go your data design first, meaning like you identify what fields you would need to have in your database in terms of like the data you want to represent in your design, or do you start with design and you have that dictate how you structure your database?
Oh, good one. What has what I've been experienced in is design first, and then I notice that the fields I've designed are present. Then I say, okay, this is going to be a column. So yeah, design to DB is my experience.
That's typically what I do. But I did hear people tell me otherwise. But so I'm glad that you and I both share the same. And I think it's whatever makes sense to folks building the project. But we're going to take the approach design first. That will dictate our database structure and stuff like that. And if you all have any questions in the chat, 100% throw them in here in the chat. Let us know if you have any suggestions or anything you want to add to the conversation. You're more than welcome. And so we created our routes. We have a basic understanding of what we want. And so at this point, would you start by, let's say, starting homepage and then talking about what you think the design is going to be and what are the requirements to say, hey, the homepage is done? Is that the typical thought process you take?
Yeah, and what's also in my mind is I just saw how we're going to use components for design, and I would love to not build things from scratch. So, wondering your thoughts are there. There's the Shad CN. I have access to Tailwind UI, etc. So, do
Um,
you have any?
I think Tailwind UI is amazing, but it's not a free thing. Um, and so I think if anybody knows some good Tailwind UI libraries, let us know. One thing that comes up is Daisy UI. Have you used that one before? Or which one?
Yes.
Throw in the chat the one that, because I don't think I'm familiar with the one that you mentioned.
Oh,
Um,
Shad CN. This is a great UI library because you can, and when you import it, um, you run npx get this component in, automatically puts it in the component folder. So um, it even is faster than simply copying and pasting. Like you can stay in your code and you pick which components you want. I've
Oh.
had experience with that. I think it's a good way to go. I would recommend
You know
that.
what? I've never tried this, and I'm always open to try new things. And this looks kind of cool. So yeah, I'm all for it. So let's add a little note there, what we're going to be using for our
Sure,
UI. So
let's put it
folks
in.
could, yep, nice. So
Cool, cool. Um, oh, and then I guess one more thing is, I would say, what colors are we going to choose? Do we just want to ask chat right now?
yeah, I mean, for sure. Like, if you all have any kind of themes or ideas in terms of colors, you could go ahead and throw the suggestions in the chat, of course. And I know sometimes folks are shy, totally understandable, so no worries. But you do have the power. And I think, like, for today's stream, we're not gonna make any super hard decision. We're just gonna kind of go through some different like conceptual ideas, like what in terms of like the layout and the routes, 100%. But we are going to give you more time and opportunity, especially some of you who weren't able to jump on the stream but watched it afterwards. You could always go to our repo and you can create an issue to add your suggestion, to add your feedback, and to kind of continue that conversation there. So let me actually quickly share my screen for just a second, and then we'll come back to yours. And you would think I would remember how to share the screen. Now you
Sure,
see
I'm
my
done
face
sharing.
like everywhere. Oh wait, I'm an idiot sometimes. It happens. So let me do this here. Go back to screen share side by side. So here you could see on my screen now, finally, we figured it out. Look, we're not professionals when it comes to streaming, so don't worry about it. So we have our Next.js built in public GitHub project that we created. It's an empty project. I'm going to go ahead again, share the link in the chat. And yep, and so I was actually looking at the chat. Private account says use Tailwind and Chat CNUI as base, but also create your own components. Yeah, we could. That's a good idea. We could do that too. But anyway, here's the project. And if you want to get involved with this, what you could do, you could always fork it if you like. So that way you can make changes and then make PR requests to it. But currently right now, when you take a look inside here, there's nothing in here. And what I want to show you here we have our issues tab. If you go here, I created this issue public chat where if you want to just publicly chat, you could just write your comments here. Like I could say hello, and you could click comment and it's gonna paste it here. But if you want to add suggestions or issues, just go ahead, click on the new issue, type whatever your suggestion is or a feature you want to do, or if you're working on stuff, you could add it here as an issue. And of course, as you're working in your own code base, you could also do PR requests to help us build out this project. So even though Jay and I are committed to this project, as we're going to do it from start to finish, but we do want to see your participation. And so if you want to participate, your PRs, your feedback, always welcome. So don't be shy. So I just wanted to kind of share this repo with you, and maybe by the end of today, we will just set up a basic Next.js project within here with nothing in it and Strapi, so you could at least have something that you could pull and take a look at. But let's come back to actually, speaking of which, I know we did the Excalibur draw, we did the basic layout. Do you think we, in your mind, want to continue talking about building out the homepage, or do you think be more important just to set up a basic Next.js project in the repo?
Yeah, I like the idea of starting with Next.js, getting the latest, just putting that in. And I would say one more thing before that is to talk about how Strapi is going to fit in.
Yes, yes, because I'm always like, I assume that everybody knows like what Strapi is and how awesome it is. But let me quickly show you here strapi.io. So Strapi is a headless CMS that allows you to spin up a backend really quickly, literally in minutes, where you could add your own data to and manage your content. So we're going to have events and users. It comes with its own authentication. So the reason why I love this so much is because you're not starting from scratch. So the idea is to show you the power of how you could combine Next.js and a headless CMS like Strapi to build out something really, really quickly. What's awesome about this, our application will give you the ability to add events from your Next.js front end, but you also could have content managers manage their content from within Strapi. And as you could see here on the right, and I know our faces are hiding part of it, but so I'll move my face over here. But you literally get all your data back via API JSON response, which is straightforward in terms of using it with Next.js. So should we just go ahead and create our first Next.js project and then
Yeah.
also set up Strapi at the same time? And also, depending how complex we want to do this, which I'm all about doing things the hard way, is or maybe be over complex because I didn't think through this. Do you think if you pull the repo and you set up Next.js, and then I pull the repo and set up Strapi, or do you think for the simplicity, I should just drive the code editor and you could walk us through the steps setting up Next13, and then I could walk us through the steps doing Strapi? What do you think?
Yeah, I like that idea of walking through one piece of this architecture at a time.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. So what I'm gonna do then, I'll share, since I'm sharing my screen. We could start with a project. So I'm gonna open iCharm, and oh my
Cool. I
goodness,
also see that we got a just a suggestion for a color. I don't know what those are, but I can definitely just write them down from Jose. Fun.
nice. Yes.
Let's
Let's
see.
do that. So we'll save him. We'll put him in our Excel draw while I'm starting my terminal here. I'm gonna make new directory, and let me know if I have to make my code thing bigger. I'm gonna call it community. I'm just gonna call it events. It's just I'm gonna
Yeah.
cd into events. Spelling is not my forte, so let me increase here. So if I have a new folder, so what I'm gonna do, and I'm going to pull in my repo where we're going to make the changes. And I think for all of you participating, I think the proper way would be to fork it, but I think you could also pull it and make PRs. You just won't be able to directly push them into main, which is perfectly fine. So let me run the command to clone the repo. Make this bigger. And then once it's cloned, I'm gonna go inside our folder, and I'm using NVM to manage my my
Yes.
node environment. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say use LTS, which for me is version 18.18.0. I think that's fine, node 18. And so we have our basic project with nothing in it. So what command should I run to get started with Next.js?
Yeah, we're in. All right, cool. We can totally access the What's the fastest way? Next.js.org. It's on their hero.
Yes. So this is, and I love that you didn't give me the answer because I want everybody to acknowledge the fact that you should all be using documentation as reference because that's what's going to make you do things properly and also encourage you to learn more about the framework that you're using. So to be honest, I could have probably remembered the command that we're using, but if you go to nextjs.org.docs, you could check it out. And the simplest way to get started is using npx next create app at latest. So I'm going to go ahead and run that command. Npx create next dash app at latest is going to ask us some questions. And I know one question. Well, I'm going to call it front end because this is where our front end of our application is going to live. But question of the day, do we use TypeScript? Yes or no?
It's a yes for me.
I knew it, but yeah, I always joke like how, like, I mean, TypeScript is something you definitely need to know. And I always prefer doing things quick and dirty with JS, but anybody learning, anybody building projects, especially if you're working on a team, TypeScript, I think is a must. So we're going to say yes. Would you like
Yeah,
to
it's
use?
a good. I like that we're bringing this up. That's very important what you said. Teams, and you and I are a team here, and also we have a Strapi part of the app. We have a Next.js part of this architecture. So it's actually behooves us to try TypeScript, so we can make sure that when we're talking across these parts of the architecture, that we can have some type safety along the way.
Yes. Yeah, very good point. And would we like to use ESLint? I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna make a decision there.
Yes, I think it's going to cost too much.
Okay, yeah, I agree. And would you like to use Tailwind CSS? Of course. Would you like to use source directory? Do you? I do. I know some people
Yeah.
don't. So I'm gonna say yes. Would you like to use App Router? Why wouldn't you? That would be the question.
Yes.
And would you like to customize the default import alias? I think we're fine with the recommended, so I'm going to say no. And so it's going to go ahead and create our project, and which will be amazing. And before getting too wild, right? If I cd into our front end folder and run, I think, yarn dev, that's going to start our Next.js project. And once we installed Strapi, what we could do set up later is set up something like concurrently, I think it's called. It's an NPM package that allows you to start both your front end and back end projects at the same time. But if we take a look at localhost now, boom, we got our Next.js project set up. We have a starting point. That was
Awesome.
super, super straightforward. And so might as well let's set up our backend project. So I'm going to stop my server. I'm going to cd back into the root. And I'm going to also, just like we said, use Next.js documentation as a reference. I want to point out that Strapi also has really good documentation. And if you're starting out learning something new, it's perfectly okay, if not recommended, to use documentation as guidance. Very important. So we could look at, you could learn more about the Strapi from Strapi Docs. Oh my God, I'm getting tongue twisted. And so to create our application, kind of looking through here, it will talk you through all the process. It'll say, different prerequisites. And I think I am in, hold on a second. Okay, this is talking about how to create a project. So they updated the docs on me for a second. And so,
Great. We love
I am
docs that get
just,
updated.
but I am confused a little bit, which is okay. I found it. It is quick start guide. That's what I was looking. The simple answer is you use npx create Strapi app at latest, but I just wanted to show you where to find this stuff. So here it shows you which node version you need. You could either use npm or yarn. And so the command to start a project is npx create strapi app at latest, and you give it a name. I'm not going to use the quick start flag just so you could see the process, but I am going to use the npx command. And so let me clear my screen. I'm going to use npx create strapi app at latest, and I'm going to call it backend. When you don't use the quick start, it's going to ask you some options and some questions. So yes, we want to proceed.
Cool.
And the first thing is going to ask, do we want a quick start or custom? We're going to say custom because we want to explore the TypeScript features of Strapi. Now, I'll give you one caveat. Strapi is,
Should there be
constantly
a TS flag?
constantly evolving. So you don't have there is one, but I wanted to show you the manual process. So if you start you could do
Cool.
the command and put the TS flag and it'll set it up. But I would just want to show you that if you don't add any flags, it will walk you through this process where you kind of say. And so when it comes to Strapi, it's in the process of having the whole application converted to TypeScript. So it's something that we're actively doing. And I just want to say it as a caveat to say that it's going to be a learning experience for me as well. But I am going to pick TypeScript because we do want to figure out how can we use our Strapi types in our Next.js application, which we'll show you how to set up as we start building. Also, when you're creating your backend, you're going to be running it locally. And so for local development, in my mind, using SQLite is perfect. It's easy. It's lightweight. So we're going to go with this option. But as we deploy our application, we could use something like Postgres. But for our current development, SQLite is perfect. And now it's going to go ahead and create our application. And so it's going to take a little minute. And what would be cool, actually, is to kind of show in the most basic sense how you can connect and make an API call to your Strapi backend from Next.js. Because that way I feel like it will, because right now I'll be showing how to set up your basic Next 13 application, how to set up Strapi, and then how do you tie it together. It'll be cool to cover in the stream so people could then go ahead and kind of play around with it more. So I just finished installing Strapi. I'm going to cd into backend, and I'm going to run yarn build, which will run automatically if you run yarn develop, and it hasn't, but I'm just going to run it anyway. And then we're going to run yarn develop to kind of start our project. And so I probably talked for 10 minutes, but the whole process took a couple of minutes. And as you'll see, we'll have our amazing backend ready to go. So it's going to start for me. And you should see I'm going to be asked to create my first admin user. I'm going to do paul.bratzlavsky@strapi.io. And then password monkey1234 because it's my local environment and that's the only password I'm going to remember. Click let's start, and boom, we're in and we have our admin panel. What's awesome, we have a working API, and I'm just going to create a very quick content type, which we will build on top of. But I'm going to create a thing called, in my content type builders, we have collection types or single collection. Collection types, anything that you're going to have many of, like pages, events, to-dos, products, whatever it is. So I'm going to create a new collection type, and I'm going to call it event. And then I'm going to click continue. And we're just going to start super simple. Our event is going to have a title. And if you go to advanced settings, you could make it a required field. I'm going to, for now, keep it really simple. So I backed up by accident. We're going to call it, our event's going to have a title. It's going to be short text. And then our event, because we're going to have multiple, maybe we want to search those events via slug. We're going to create a UID identifier, which is going to be based off our title, and it's going to be our slug. Click finish. So we created our very first data structure. It's title of our event. It also has a slug. I'm going to save. And now I'm able to go, once it restarts, into my content manager. And here I have my events. I could create a new entry, first event. And then we're going to have our slug, first event. I'm going to click save and publish. So check this out. What I'm able to do now is access this from my API. And so if I go to, and I'll just do it in the browser because we're just making a GET request. If I go to localhost 1337 API /events, we should see something here. But right now we're getting forbidden data because all of our endpoints are disabled from the start because security is super important. So you don't want to give like access to endpoints off the bat. Like what you want to do, you want to have control of who and where you let people get this data. So under settings, under roles, I'm able to go to public because the idea is that you want anybody to see our events, right? Regardless if you're logged in or not, you should be able to see them. It's a different question if you want to create or not. I think you need to be a logged in user to create them. So to just see our events, I'm going to go under public permissions. You see here's our events controller or API that handles all of that. We have a couple of different tasks that we could do. We could create, find, update, delete. We could find one. And what's awesome, you could create additional controllers if you want. But for now, we're just going to give access to find all. And this shows you the endpoint that we go to, or find one if you want to find by ID. And we click save. And so now when I go back to my browser and refresh, boom, we now have our data from our events. And so that's how easy it is to get started with Strapi. And I'm just going to add one more event just so we have something more. I'm going to say second.
And if I may interject for a quick moment,
Yeah.
what just happened was in our settings for the Strapi project, we are able to grant access in a particularly easy manner to our collections
Yes. That is
based
amazing.
on reading, deleting, etc. Could we take a look at that network request?
Yes. So let me first go ahead here. Yep, I have two events now. So if I refresh, inspect, let's go here, network tab, all. I wonder if it's going to show up this way. Hold on a second. Since I'm just doing it in my browser, it should. What am I missing? I've actually never tried to do network if you just call it in the browser to get whatever.
Fascinating. Maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree here. That's okay. I mean, it is giving us literally the JSON in the browser,
Yeah,
which is
maybe
pretty
like
cool.
whenever you use the network tab, it has to be in the context of the application, which is perfectly fine. You could also, does Insomnia give more data? Because I could use Insomnia to.
It's cool. We can visit. Well, hold on. There it is. Actually, if I just look at if you look at the document for events, that is something that strikes me as curious on the network tab there. You'll see it.
Doc,
Oh, okay. You
uh,
can open up Insomnia. Sure.
I mean, that's perfectly fine. Am I like too blind at seeing it? Hold on a second.
It's the blue icon, little above, closer to the top. And I know, right? I wish I could draw on your screen. It's okay,
Yeah. Oh
brother.
no, events right here. Boom, I found it. Thank you. Yeah, so we have our header here. We have
I'm
our.
I'm like I think what 15 seconds behind you or something. So,
Okay, no worries, no worries. I will wait.
but yeah, okay, this is cool. I think this because yeah, the response shows it there, so that's cool. Um, and do we see any particular headers for this?
So here is just let's see here, response preview. So general headers. because I'm doing it from my browser. I think it's just like the basic stuff. So the URL, the method, we're getting the status code, response header, connection, keep alive, content type. Yeah, it's just a basic application JSON. And because it's public,
Cool.
yeah, we're just getting the standard.
That's
But
perfect.
yeah, what's awesome is that we already have an API which is already returning data. So maybe we should uh, tie this together as an example and maybe show how to get this data in Next.js. What do you
Cool.
think? Sounds
Yeah,
good?
I'd love to. Yeah.
Okay, so let
So
me
what about
stop
I
the
drive
server
this
for you.
time? Is that what we're going to try here?
Yeah, so let me that'll be actually a great experience to kind of see how can we do this together. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do git status to make sure that I have all the changes here. Git add, um, git status to check, make sure git commit message. I'm going to say, oops, initial commit. I think this will actually be a very good exercise. Git push. I am pushing to main, which I shouldn't have done, but for this initial commit, this is perfectly fine. So let me go back to my repo here, refresh. And one thing that I noticed here, okay, no, we do have the example env, so that's perfectly fine. So nice. So I pushed all the stuff. So I think what'll be awesome is to have you share your screen and see you go through the process of pulling the data, making sure both Next.js and Strapi work on your end, and then we could go ahead, make those code changes, and then you can make those, once you set up the project locally, do it in a different branch, and then you could push the branch, and then we'll have our first PR. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that would be
Um,
super cool.
yeah,
So
so
before I share my screen in a moment, I would just want to make sure my GitHub is going to get access to
yeah,
this.
no
I'm
worries.
on
Take your time to set up. Perfect.
uh, next call. I'm going to make sure I'm on my other account on my OS because I'm in a different account on this OS, which is fine.
No
So what I'm
worries.
going to do is
It's a pain. I hate when you have to switch GitHub because you have to switch it in multiple places. It's like you have to switch in your terminal. You have to
oh yeah, it's
switch
an event
your login,
because
and
SSH
you got
keys
two
are
factor. Yeah, it's
so.
like oh my gosh. Yeah,
I
it's
thought I figured
annoying.
SSH keys, but hey, I have other four-letter words for a lot of SSH business with GitHub in particular. I don't know why they have to be so problematic. So let me just try this.
So what
I'm
I'll just give a
almost
little quick tip. I installed GitHub CLI, and then you could do get using GitHub CLI. I think it's GH auth login, and allows you to log in through your browser, which kind of makes that whole SSH, I think, nonsense a little bit easier. I could be wrong, but I think it does make things easier. Um,
that's good. That's good. Okay, so I've been able to get get a clone in. So now I'm going to start from after the clone. So let me go to my in. Let's see. Go to your eCam. Okay, share screen. I want to share um, window. Here we go. I'll share my VS Code terminal for now until I need to share more. But I'm in my terminal. I'm going to move into sharing Next.js build in public. So here we are. I'm going to zoom in a bit. Maybe too much.
no, that's good. Go back
Okay,
a
cool,
little bit
cool. So
forward.
everybody, hello everybody to my terminal. How are the people doing? Hello,
Th-
Northern Chimp. And Anton is thanking you, Paul, for a great docs since before begun.
Nice, awesome, thank you. We try.
Cool. So when I see a front end and a back end, I like to split my terminals into two. So then this can be front end, this can be back end. And so, yeah, here's my app. So let me make sure I install. We're using Yarn, so I should do Yarn install for this guy. And on my back end, Yarn install. Pretty cool, I would say, to have each of these using the Yarn package manager and making things pretty simple for us.
Yeah.
And um,
It's funny when you
I
said
see.
the stream is like 15 seconds behind. I'm watching it and I'm like, man, I got to figure out how to make that less of a time. I'm sure it's like a settings thing, but
Yeah.
it's hilarious.
Uh, yeah, I did expect the eCam to have that screen sharing also. It's it's all good. Okay, we do have the front end down, our Next.js front end installed, so I know the command to get that going. I actually don't remember what the command is for Strapi. Is it
Yeah.
also yarn
So,
dev?
yeah, once Strapi starts, you're going to run, first, you're going to have to, there's a dot, and this is great that you asked, dot env dot example file. You will have to create a dot env file and copy that code in there. Yep, and you could leave that as it is because it just expects strings, so it's perfectly fine. And then once you have that .env in that backend folder created with that stuff, you will have to run yarn build first and then yarn develop.
Okay, so what I'm doing right now then is going to go into backend. I'm going to touch a new .env file. Then I'm going to access it. It's hidden, so I want VS Code to allow me to access files that get ignored. Because as you can see here, I'm searching for it at the top. It's not finding it. It'd be cool if someone could let me know if I could do that. But here we are. So I'm going to do that. Delete.env.example. And boom, I have .env good to go there. And Strapi is still on its way as far as it being installed.
And
And what's up?
one thing I was gonna add, because we're using SQLite and it's the database that's stored locally, you're not gonna have my data on your machine. So you would have to create your own admin user like I did, and then you would have to add your own events. And that makes sense because we are running our database locally.
Totally. That's cool. Maybe we can discuss a possibility of finding a database hosted on DigitalOcean or something, or wherever else on the planet. Any like
Yeah,
super quick way to get
yeah, I think like
hosted DB?
yeah,
Planet
yeah.
scale
Yeah, like you
database?
could. I used Neon Tech. It's like a hosted Postgres. Really cool. What I was gonna say, once we do production, like we could do something like that or host it on, whatever. There's so many different ways. I feel like one thing that I find is when you're working in development, whatever we decide, our development environment should never use a production database. I'm just saying it out loud because I've been there. And when things break, you don't want to break things in production. So, but as a short, like I think it's fine because Strapi has this feature where you could import and export data. So we could create a seed file that someone who pulls in the project, they'll be able to um, get the database from a seed file, and so they could have the same things we have. But we'll talk about that a little bit later.
That's a
It's
great
not
idea.
important right
That's
now.
really
Yep.
important. Right now, yes. We can unprioritize it for the next thing. Though I do want to make a note about the seeding of DBs for local use, and the possibility of having a cloud-hosted dev DB as well. Because I know wherever we choose to host this, which is another interesting question, I would opt for Vercel or whatever other hosting platform we use. we can have environment variables set to make sure
Yes.
that if we have a staging environment, that's what I would call a non-production, but it's in the cloud. It's hosted, for the public to use. Uh, Staging makes most sense, and then a designated production DB.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. And in terms of hosting, Next.js 100% will host on Vercel. And then Strapi, we have to host in like a node environment. So you could use like digital hosts or render. And so we could talk about it as we get there.
Super
But there's
cool.
many options, so many options.
Yeah. So here I have Strappy in online. Well, almost. Just got to run it. I believe I have the. What is the command? What am I looking
So
for?
if you didn't do yarn build yet, you would do yarn build and then yarn develop.
Ah,
And then I think
cool.
for ease of use, maybe I'll make a PR request to set up concurrently to make it starting both projects much easier process.
Oh, I love to see that. I'm not thinking of how. What is it? A bash script?
Yeah, basically it's through a package called concurrently. It allows you in your package JSON file set up your script that will call all the commands in order of whatever, and then basically you could have yarn dev that's gonna run front end yarn dev, back end yarn develop, and so on. Yeah, basically a script. Yeah. And someone said
Whoa.
yes, make the screen a bit larger, please.
We can
Um,
go. We can go bigger. I don't mind at all. I know it's
yeah,
a.
I'm blind. That's why I got glasses, but I'm sitting so close to my screen that it's perfectly fine. But
Yes, same here. Pretty close to my screen. Okay, Yarn Dev. Well, I did build for backend. Oh, it's develop. Develop. And let me now. Okay, now it's a good idea for. I'm going to stop sharing for a quick moment while I'm going to bring back. I'm just going to share my entire screen. Whoa. Um,
yeah, when you share, it'll remove my big head from the screen here, which is appreciated.
um,
So
okay,
yeah.
cool. So I'm here, and then I want to go to the browser, and I'm going to go to create a new tab on localhost using the cool Arc browser.
Oh yeah, I haven't tried it yet. What are your thoughts? Oh, it looks beautiful.
It's better than anything else. If you do this, Command T usually opens a tab, but they actually turned it into what Raycast would be, right?
Oh, that's
For your
sick.
OS or what
Oh
Spotlight
wow,
is.
that's
So then
sick.
here you can have these actions. Show your sidebar, collapse the sidebar is Command S.
Oh, that's sick.
Um, what else are there?
Sold.
Tons. One of the coolest things they did was some AI like features. Well, that's another conversation. It might pop up as we move along here. But yeah, I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Um, okay, hold on. Get admin users permissions translation FR. Get admin upload translation. Huh? Is it because I have another? What is this?
Hold on a second. Um, oh no. Hold on. Give me a moment.
Sure.
I think my computer's AI froze for UI froze for a second. But what was the message you were getting? Oh
I'm just
no.
seeing interesting get requests right now to um, my backend locally. I18N translation FR. These are things I'm working on. Uh,
Do you have something already running in the process? Maybe.
that's weird because I mean these are different. So let me just like
Hold on a second.
here's
I'm gonna
another
get
part
up
of
for a
my
second
code.
to grab my other computer because I don't know what happened to this one, but I don't want to
Oh
touch anything
no.
to like break anything. But as long as it works, I just want to see the stream so I could see where we're at.
Oh, okay. Oops. You look fine though, so that's good on stream.
Hold on. Are we back? I think we're back. Hello, hello. I let me know in the chat if we're back again, and you could see us. Hello, hello. I think you are muted at the moment. You're still muted. You might have to unmute yourself. All right, I think we're back. I think we're back. And it says guest has muted themselves. So I'm not sure if there's like a button that you're pressed by accident. You could always rejoin. Technology, right? Am I right, everybody? But yeah, we're back. Yes. And I think like for people rewatching, they're not going to see it. I don't know what happened to my computer that it just decided to go crazy. But hopefully, I'm going to close a bunch of apps. And I'm glad that we're back. There was a small little delay, no big deal. But let's see here. Yeah, so I don't know why it still says you're still muted, which is weird. But technology is always weird, so it's okay. I wonder if you could like, yeah, yep. What's up? Oh, oh, okay. Thank you. That's totally my fault. Thank you. Hold on. Let's try that again. Okay, try now. See if it works. Oh goodness. Come on, app. You could do this application. Hold on a second. Wait a second. What's up? What? What? Everybody could. Hold on a second. Go ahead. Yeah. 1 second. Hold on a second. Yeah, let's do that. I'm gonna have so many feedback for Ecamm. Yeah, try jumping in again and see what happens. Nice. Let's see. Accept. Let's add to right. And can you say something?
Okay, here we go. That should be
We're
good.
back in business. Let me. All right, everybody. That was exciting. Everybody was like, "What the hell are these people doing? This is so." All right, and then yeah, if you want to share back your screen again, I think it'll be fine.
Okay, perfect. Let's continue. So I'm going to. Okay. Go to the Ecamm. Press the share button and share entire screen. Neato.
Nice.
Okay. So yeah,
Back
here
in
we are.
business.
Yeah, here we are. And so I have what needs to be running as running. So I have Next.js running. So Next.js is running. Then if I wanted to access, so including the settings you made to access things, cool. Yeah, I would have to do this stuff. So it's my turn to create a new admin and etc. Is that right?
Yes. So here you would create your first admin user with your own credentials.
This is all local stuff. It doesn't matter what I do, right?
Yeah, exactly. You could do test at email. at email.
Um,
.email.com. Be fine.
email.com.
It's
I'm
a very
just putting
strong
in
password over there.
semi-random password. Yeah, we love the random, semi-random passwords. Okay, save password for localhost. No, don't worry about it for now. Wow, cool. I'm in, and so uh, what is our goal then? So you were able to on your local Strapi create an event. Super cool. Do
Yes.
you think it's a good idea for me to do the same type of thing or to
What I
um,
would,
mhm.
yeah, I think what would be cool is to like, if you go to collection types or collection manager, I guess I would say, and you should already have the event that I create, like the structure created. So you could add 2 events, and then you could kind of go through the process of how can we display at least this basic event with the title on our Next.js application. So that will kind of complete this skeleton structure of like, hey, we have our front end, we have our back end, and we're able to get a data between our two. And then, yep, don't forget to hit publish. Um,
Oh,
otherwise, it's not
after I
going to
click
show.
save.
So
Oh,
it
cool. Yeah,
doesn't
that's
publish
good.
it automatically because just in case you want it to be in draft, and you could disable that feature, but for the moment, I just like let's keep it.
Perfect. That's good. It did give a state that
Yeah,
uh, event um,
yeah, and
bar. Okay, and then
if you want to
I'm
make it a little
going to
bit
generate a
bigger
slide.
zoom on the admin here, yeah,
Let's zoom in
perfect.
for the people.
Yes, and
One
then
more time,
now
actually.
once you save and publish, and
Cool.
next step, if you wanted to give public access to those, you would go into settings.
Perfect.
Yep, and then you would go into roles. Let me move my head so the people on screen could see here. Roles, and then so you would go user permission roles. So where you are right now here, let
User.
me just break this down. So administration panel users are people that have access to the admin user panel that you're in. So it could be like people in the company that work for you, content editors. But in terms of your users in your applications or API endpoints that are accessed by Next.js application, we're going to go down a bit on the users and permissions, and we're going to select roles from there.
So we're talking about in the plugin part.
Yes, exactly. And then under public, when you click that, you're going to see your events here.
Perfect.
And
Awesome. We want both to find all and find one.
yes,
Cool. That's
then
awesome.
click
And we
save.
got
And
into this. Wow, that's really cool. Oh, it saves up here. Fantastic. So that I've achieved that. So what I could do the same thing you did. Just go ahead and um, localhost leet slash.
and
Just looking at it, API slash events.
yes,
Aha! Boom. Okay, so I think what would be really exciting is to get a basic home. We're on the homepage. I just want to remove the boilerplate, um, make a fetch happen, put it in a simple component. Then I would think adding one shad CN component, just one,
yeah,
into that process, and then give it a bit of a nice look and feel.
pizzazz.
Okay,
Perfect. I love
let's
it.
do
I
that.
love it. Nice.
Cool. And anytime, hit me up with questions or observations or comments. And the people, tell me also what's up, what's going on.
Yes,
It's kind of
share.
hard to see the
Yeah,
people
let us
though.
know in the chat any suggestions, any questions you have, anything that you want to recommend. Definitely let us know because we do want to have you involved. And again, for those of you who are watching the stream later, you could always add these questions or actually, hold on a second. Let me stop for a second. You can
Mhm.
add all the questions and issues on the GitHub, but you also have a Discord. Do you want to throw your Discord link in the chat? And then we could have people also ask questions on Discord.
Yeah, guys. I'm sharing my Discord right now. I'm actually in the Next.js Discord, which is fantastic. It's a really great Discord. They have a GPT help channel. I'm just going to shout that out. Just for any questions with Next.js, they have a model that has gone over their docs and it answers a lot of fundamental questions about Next.js. And we're going to be utilizing the next ATX Discord, which is the event I organize on in Austin monthly. And for some of you viewers who are not watching from or who don't live in Austin, it's cool. You can still say hey and come join. So the invitation link is here. So I want to, Paul, send it to you through the Ecamm chat. So let me
Yep.
just send that to you.
And I'll throw it in the chat. It's also, I believe you could also find it on the GitHub, but we'll share it here as well.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Cool. Yeah, so I have opened the front end part of our app. And what we have right now is some Next.js boilerplate, which is kind of cool when you're just wanting to get things off the ground. Though I think it's okay for us to pretty much completely remove everything. So I'm just gonna leave like main open and pretty much we won't display too much on the screen, and I do want flex column justify between padding's fine. Okay, so I just want to have a div that's going to receive the data and map over it. So I like to when I use Tailwind in when I'm not creating refactoring components. I just name a component inside of the class name. So I'm just going to call this the events list. Okay. So in Next.js, this page is coming from is rendered on the server, and then uh, which means it's going to be loaded really fast for the client, which happens to be our browser. And what's been introduced with Next.js 13 is that I don't know how to write a function for a moment here. What is it? Or default async function, header function. There we go. So this can be async, which means that when I'm going to fetch inside of this, it's going to happen all on the server side, and then and because that API exists on the backend, which we created with Strapi, it'll be super fast. No like mega round trips around the planet. So as you can see, GitHub Copilot is giving me a suggestion, which I'm going to go ahead and use. And GitHub Copilot is amazing. Do you use it too, Paul?
Yes, I do. And
Yeah.
sometimes it is wrong.
Sometimes it is wrong,
Sometimes it is right. And so I
and
use
sometimes
it
it is
still.
right. So we're so willing to use it. So
Yes.
um, I'm certain that this is actually quite enough for us to get our response once we access API events. And by default, this should be a get. So I don't think I need to add anything else. We're going to await getting the JSON from that event. And all I'm going to do right now is just use a console log. I have a VS Code snippet that I really like that I just use the character CLGL to console log a line, and it's gonna, and then I use Command D, select both of these things, object, and just call it events. But for now, I want to see where this is logged. And hey, we got a little bit of a connection refused. So what I'm thinking is, did this? I'm going to see. Boom. When this happened, and I want to check the logs of both my front end and back end for this. So, hey, there's that error. And okay, so yeah, our shopping never even received the request. So there was a problem in the fetch that I'm making. So I believe if I look at, I think I need to add more info here.
No, it should work. Is your backend project running? That'll be like the first thing I would just double check.
Sure, let's double check that. If I go to localhost API,
Because if
hitting
it works
refresh.
here, yeah, refresh here too.
Mhm. So let me make sure it's not HTTPS. It's HTTP localhost. Now, 1337. Maybe if I change
Yeah,
this.
that might actually be the issue. I think so.
Oh yeah.
You should.
Well, let's see. Yeah. Ta-da. So what's going to be interesting is I want to demonstrate that our browser isn't running that console log. It's the node part of the server that is Next.js that is running console log. So I'm going to scroll down here. One more thing, we got a little bit of a, well, now this is a huge, um, interesting error here. Get set cookie is not a function, which I don't know where that's coming from. Um, it's a
Sometimes,
type
like,
error. What's up?
yeah, what's I was gonna say, interestingly, like sometimes when I have certain extensions installed in my browser, I don't know if it's the case for you. Sometimes I'll get their errors showing up in my VS Code, but I'm because yeah, that's kind of interesting.
That might be
That
the
makes no,
case.
yeah.
I'm going to just refresh this one more time. We're not seeing the error, which is good news, and we are getting the data. That this is going to throw something interesting. Now, if I were to try Chrome, that's good. This is fun. I think I like this that we're showing us encountering a
I mean, this is the
challenge and
reality.
seeing,
This is
yeah.
what coding looks like. It's, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this code in public to kind of showcase like what is building something realistically look like. Because a lot of times you see folks on YouTube showing stuff, they're showing a finely tuned, completed project which's been edited and all the mistakes been removed. And I think it's important for a developer, especially if you're new, to kind of understand like, hey, like this is perfectly fine.
Hmm.
And somebody asking in a private account asks, have any one of us asked, got access to Copilot X? I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting. But, um, but I'm perfectly fine with like whatever Chat GPT and VS Code and the way it works. It's for my use case, for everything I do is perfectly fine. But I do want
So
to play with it.
yeah, me too. I really want to play with it. Something interesting is going on where, if we look at this type error, it's saying response headers get set cookie is not a function, which would make me think, okay, I'm trying to call this function somewhere in my app, and I'm looking um, for this function call in my code base, but it's not being called. So right now we are getting data, so I think it's okay to let this dog lie and
Yes.
move forward. Okay, what I want to make sure we're paying attention to is that we are logging data. So check this out, right above here. Um, this is the events log that I made, and there's our data, ID one, and etc. So um, that means attributes is what we want to access for our um, app here. So what I'm thinking is, let's go ahead and do a map. So I'm just going to write this out by hand. Okay, and then this is our, should actually events.data, and then events.data map, and then each of the items inside the data array is going to look like an object. So I'm going to put this as a comment here. So it's going to look like, um, and this is basically typing ish on the fly, but we're going to have like an ID, which is um, and then we're going to have um, attributes, which I'm curious because actually I'm not sure what that's going to look like.
So that's going to have, and so what we'll do eventually is there's an additional step we have to do to pull Strapi types and to set it up, which I will cover that a little bit later. Definitely not in today's stream, but because it's not something that we need, as it's a nice to have. But in terms of like seeing what you will return, it will be basically be the fields that we gave. So the attribute would be like title and the slug, and that's because that's what we created.
Cool, cool. So yeah, what I will do then is to get our. Let me see what this is. Okay, that's TypeScript for us. I will we'll talk about that later, but I should be able to put out ID and attributes, and then what we can ensure then. How about I just do another log? That's what I'm thinking for now, just so I can log what attributes looks like, so I can do a quick type. So perfect. I have this extension which is super badass called
What is it called?
um, Ninja. It's Console Ninja.
Nice.
Yeah, I
Let me
love it.
install it.
Go for it right now. And also awesome. Our I'm getting the attributes as well here. So I can super duper fast, I think, be able to at least put something like the attributes type for now, and VS Code, do your thing. Event title is a thing. What else we got? Slug, that's a string. Created at. Uh, these might be something else other than strings. The date time
They're
stuff.
yeah, I think
Uh,
you
I
could
think
keep them
it's
as strings right now, but yeah, what I'll do is I will make a PR to show how to pull Strapi types into your Next.js application. So that way you'll actually have access to all the types from Strapi, so you don't have to type these manually.
yeah, super. Let's just go to Excalidraw here. Excalidraw. We have we like this. We like this. This is good. DB flows, pages, design. I can't think of the bigger term to describe types, but just have something like
Types.
types, type safety. Yeah, just types, and then we'll just put in Strappy type big or implementation or I'll do that. Cool. All right. We're coming to home base here as far as me and getting this to be listed on our app. Um, what are the people up to? What are they saying?
They're doing good. We have a new Jonathan just joined us asking what we're up to. So I was typing my response. But basically, this is first stream of starting a Build in Public project where we want to encourage all of you participate if you like. You could get access to the repo that I shared already in the chat. I'll share again. You could go ahead and make a fork. You could pull. You could like if you don't want to do this with us, here, I'll quickly like throw it in the chat here. I was going to say, if you don't want to participate by actually doing PR requests, you don't have to. You could just give your feedback and issues. You could make recommendation, ask us questions as we build this, but you also are able to participate by actually, adding it and writing the code and doing PR requests as well. But basically, we just try to encourage everybody to build something together with their friends in a communal way. And so this is our initial stream getting this process started.
Wonderful. Yeah. So what I'm accomplishing right now is to make sure we are going to get this events listed that is the data coming from Strapi, and Next.js is going to grab these events and render some components based on these events. And right now, what I decided to do very simply was to think about the type of element this event should be as you're mapping over it, and it will be a link, and it will have a reference to go to the slug. We haven't built that part of our app yet, and when that part is built, we will go to that slug for that event and see some more details about it. As of now, we're simply just going to list the title of the event that we're looking at. So I think we are in a decent position after I have made sure we're mapping over this just to see what our front end is going to look like when we do that. So I'm going to go to our localhost 3K, and we have them. It's not the prettiest, and that's where I want to use Shad CN, and then we'll give the driving back over to Paul after the Shad CN install. So, any thoughts or comments from Paul or the people?
No, I think everybody's doing good, enjoying watching us, just asking what we're building, and then giving suggestion. One suggestion: creating an API service to handle fetch logic, uh, which will include error handling. So I'm assuming what private account means is to have a function that's gonna encompass like all the fetch logic that we use to fetch numerous different items from Strapi, and they'll also throw errors depending on the response we get, and that's the function we would call from our, like, let's say this page. So we're not calling fetch directly, but having it inside a function that does a bunch of stuff. I'm assuming that's what they mean.
Yeah, there might be a case where we're going to run this function in a client component and we want to call use server. So, what could be done if we're going to make a basic kind of function, which I think is a good idea. What I'm thinking is a try catch statement, try to fetch, catch the error, throw the error, and let's have a error component or an error page show up when that happens.
Yeah.
Sure. So one thing I would want to do to address that is uh, this is an interesting question about structuring our app. And so for the front end, um, this fetcher function is going to be basically global. So we have our source app. So I'm going to put this inside of source, a folder um, called lib, and then I'll just put fetcher TypeScript. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. And what we could do is we could move the general logic right now, but we don't have to like build it out. So this way, this could be like a container that we could come back to. So that way we could keep moving forward and uh, check out the UI components that you mentioned. But what I would say is I would recommend any one of you going to the GitHub page under issues, creating an issue for creating this component, and maybe one of you could take it up and create it. Or obviously, Jay and I were also going to work on this app as well, but we'd love to encourage all of you to work on the code together and have a conversation around it.
That'll be super awesome. Do, do, do. Oh my god, I'm const fetcher equals. There we go. What am I doing? There we go. Funny how things live, I can kind of get a screwy with this. It should be a string. All right, so yeah, I'm just gonna do a basic type of uh, try catch statement here. There we go. I'm gonna do it like that. Get this. This is an async function, and yeah, I would love for you guys to be able to improve this a little later. So const res is await this catch error. Just log the error, please, and then return. Let's just return what res for now, unless we absolutely must. Then, oh, I think res as null is okay, and then this is basically a decent starter pack for this. And then
Yeah,
let's go back to
perfect.
here, and then all we're gonna do is we're just gonna call fetcher. So I didn't export it, so I'm just gonna export defaults. This big guy here. And let's go ahead and I'm just going to comment this out and const res equals fetcher. And I'm going to automatically import it with an alias. Super cool. I do like to do
Nice.
some organization in my imports because sometimes you're importing like 10 million things. So, and we're going to pass in the one argument for fetcher. So let's see. I think this does need to be awaited, and I think this is going to be a TypeScript, possibly null. So if it's null, I should just see that this is. What do you think, Paul? If it's, is this okay? Should I?
I would for now like so I would keep it here and like the idea would be like so this way we could continue building out like like because I do want to show how we integrate the UI library that you mentioned, and also because I want people to go and give comments to our repo and go make PR requests or show the way that they would integrate this. So I think it's great to start it as a, here's an entry point and then continue moving forward. Because I'd love to have uh, folks, participate.
Indeed, indeed. So I'm just going to do this. If there is
Yeah,
as
response
equals,
okay.
oh, then return a blank something. And then what is it saying? Um, this is where TS can be in our way. But I'm going to leave this alone and just, oh, wait, sorry. This should be fixed, and then this should be fixed. And
Yeah.
cool. So let's just do another, let's go back to localhost. Boom, it's still getting data. Perfect. Okay, next step. Let's do the shadcn stuff, and this should be fairly simple. So I'm going to go to a shadcn. This is Twitter. I'll start there. He works at Vercel, which is incredible. He just got that gig. I'm going to go from there,
Oh,
go
that's
to his
awesome.
page. From his page, go to his project. From his project, we're here. From what we see here, just to say why is this a pretty good library to choose? I think he does a good job at presenting how it's used. So this is a dashboard type, all created with all of the components from his library. There is like this cards one, just so you can see, wow, like this is great starter components that you can edit, and we're gonna look at that in a moment. I really like the music one. This is super
Oh, that's
impressive,
sick. That's pretty cool.
and
Yeah.
he has interactivity with it too. So good on this guy. Okay, let's get started. And from here, I want to emphasize, like he does, that it's not a component library, it's a collection of reusable components that you can copy and paste into your apps. So let's start there. We're going to use the Next.js framework for this. And we're going to start here. We're not going to create the project. We're just going to run npx chassis and UI latest init. Notice that we're not installing. We're just going to run this package inside of our app. So we're going to go to our front end here that I have shut down, and I'm going to run this command. It does install a package. Now I know. Well, that's fine. And there's a reason for that. And we are going to use TypeScript. We're just going to stick with default. As far as colors go, this can totally change. For now, we just use Slate. Where is our global CSS file? It is source.app. So I'm going to edit this. Source/app /globals CSS. CSS variables for colors, sure. Tailwind config is at root. And yes, we want that component for alias for components, and we want this alias for utils. And we are using server components. We want this components.json, and boom. That's a good amount of configurability for this library, which is fine. I think the freedom that is going to grant us when we design and do more with our components is worth it.
Nice.
Okay, cool. Yeah. My next step would be to follow the instructions that he has here. So there is a part about fonts. I don't think we need to worry about that too much at the moment. And now we can start adding components. So as you see, I'm going to zoom in. On his last step is where he shows you can start adding components to your project. So we're going to run chassis and UI, add component. In this example, it's button. What we want is to not get a button, but let's take a look at his components here. There's a ton. So all I'm thinking is, I think I'm going to keep it simple. This says card, though that is has some fields that I don't necessarily want. What about reading group, scroll area, select, toast, a hover card? Interesting. Well, that's cool. You see that when you hover over it, it gives you these details like it's a Twitter profile. Kind of cool. Collapsible data table. I thought I saw something that had his oh, it's a skeleton. Actually, I will use card. So we're getting there to getting this in our app. I want to show that on his documents, you can look at the code right here, and you can copy and paste this in. And we're going to notice that it's going to import some other parts, other components that go inside of here. So that's why he recommends using his package to download it, because we're going to install the other parts. And it's going to be pretty smooth and pretty quick. So let's go ahead and add card. We're going to go to our app. Here we go. Oh, hey, you know what? I just downloaded this to our backend. 1 second.
Easy fix.
Yeah, just delete. Okay, I don't think I did. Let me just make sure.
No, it doesn't look at the I don't see
Alright.
there dependencies.
It's good.
There is your en root. No, that wouldn't work because we don't have a
Funny. Um,
backend.
hey. Oh, it did. It did. It's all on the back end. We got a couple of things that were added. So I want to delete some files here. We could undo this, right? If I go to our history of source control and then we look at what was added. So if I expand this a bit, here we go. So we don't need tailwind in our backend, and our package.json was updated. Um, some of
Delete.
these things are not needed.
Yeah,
Um,
you could undo that. I think it'll be
yeah,
fine. Package JSON. Yeah. Yep.
there we go.
Looks
Perfect.
right.
Awesome. And then we don't need this file called components.json. And I think we can undo this yarn lock. Cool. And there is no need for a global.css file in our backend app. And there's added quite a few things. Okay, we're going to do this part
Beauty of
two.
source control.
Yeah, that was a good
Thank
walkthrough for that
goodness.
too. Okay, we're going to do this here. So I'm going to keep this page open. Instead, I want to go to, sure, I'll go back to his Twitter, go to his project, get started, install Next.js, and do this again. Sorry, guys. I
No, this
had
is
three of
all
these
fine.
terminals open.
Listen, a bunch. Everybody does the same thing a bunch of times, and but that's the whole point of like live coding. A lot of people, like I said, they see the final result, they see edited situation, but when you're building something yourself, this is actually exactly the process you're going to go through. Probably make similar mistakes as well, and so it's just perfectly fine. Especially if you're a beginner, I think it's important to see stuff like this to kind of be like, hey, you know, this is normal. Making mistakes is normal. Running into issues is normal.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it's good to see how we approach these interesting challenges, like I said, and questions that we find, and sharing how we think about these things too. Reason about, I think, is very important for any developer. And okay, so we have this in, and we have what chat's seen added. An interesting part of this is this components.json that is at the root of the front end folder. And here is our configuration of these components. And then what I'm going to do next is basically resume where we were. We're going to add a component. So I have his other, we're going to add this card and we're going to edit it so it'll fit our media, our events. Let's go to manual and go to VS Code. Cool. So let's add this card, and I believe we're going to get a prompt or not. Okay, that was that simple. Then our card has been added to our component/UI folder. Okay. So now that that is added, we can now go back to our page, back to where we have this simple um, link. And one more thing I'm going to do is get this to be a flex column. And then what I'm going to do now is remove this title, add in the card, and I'm just going to review his docs again just to see how he uses it. So, oh, okay, cool. So this card had all of these other components in them. We're not going to use all of them. I would say we'll just add like card header um, for now. Let's just keep it that simple.
Yes.
So we have card, and then we can import card header. And what can I pass into them? Okay, so card header is just going to receive the attributes of our event data. I'm sorry, what is it? Title? Cool. All right, now let's go back to our app. And let's make sure it's running. It was not. Let's get this baby to run. Ta-da! So
Beautiful. Look at that.
yeah,
That's done. We're done. Good. Ready to go.
awesome, awesome.
Just kidding. Looks good. Looks good.
I'm gonna add a bit of a gap just for the
I love the
designer.
fact that it works with Tailwind. That's pretty cool. So like any additional styling, you could, um, yeah, nice.
Awesome, people. That's really cool for us to have accomplished.
Yeah, I think this is a really, really good start. So the next step for you would be is to save these changes and push them to the repo. Now, because we kind of just jumped into this, I'm assuming like currently you're in the main branch. The ideal way would be to create a separate branch
Mm-hmm.
to push those changes and have those changes be reviewed. But and this is probably a good way to do it. But I feel like with this initial project, if we wanted to commit the sin of pushing into main, um, I think this one time would be fine.
Yeah, totally. I would say let's just do that and then think about that
The
later, which
Yep.
is fine. So let's go ahead. So if I look in VS Code is showing all the changes across my front end and back end. I don't want to use VS Code right now for that because I'm looking at two parts of the app for me, even though technically it's one repo. I forgot about that. Um, I can choose. I actually don't think I have VS Code set up to do that. So all I'm going to do then.
So I wonder if you go into the root of the folder, wouldn't that work?
That should work. I mean, I
Since
can run git commands from here and
yeah. So
blah blah blah. So yeah, I can do it from the front end part. It's recognizing it from the top. I have an alias called acom, which is add and commit. So I'm just going to do front end and back end. Um, Actually, I didn't add anything technically to the back end, which is awesome. This is all front end
yeah,
work actually.
that's perfect.
Well, I did delete end dot example. That's a thing, but front end add add cn and add um, event cards to. I'm gonna make a really long commit because it's okay. Then back in move example. Just so we can get this. Okay, cool. I'm gonna push to main, and I'm supposed to remember my username and pass. So give me a moment to stop sharing that, and or I can at least pause my screen for now.
Yeah, no worries. While you share that, let me. I'm gonna just like screen share my screen for a second here, um, or hold on a second. I am. I don't know what the hell I did to my thing, but that's fine here. Screen share. So while Jay is pushing the stuff to the GitHubs, you could actually find our GitHub. It's I'll share the link here in the chat, and you are all encourage and welcome to participate, because we want to encourage you to build this project together, not just watch Jay and I build it. So there's many ways to participate. You could clone it, you could fork it. If you want to build alongside with us, you could make PR requests. And so one way to contribute is, if you go into issues, we have our public chat. You could just say whatever you like here on the public chat, just in comments here. So you could come and say hello. I already said hello here. Or you could go ahead and create new issues. And so, one thing we had a question about creating a kind of like, I'm kind of looking through the comments first here. But to create a wrapper function to fetch the data and handle error handling, I think we called it like fetcher. But I'm just going to say improve. I'm just using this as an example. Fetcher function for fetching data and handling. And it doesn't have to be perfect, right? And so that's going to be a new issue. And I'll add the description later. I just want to show you on stream that, hey, no worries. We should probably add good labels. And okay, we'll say enhancement right there.
That'd be
And
great.
so
Yeah.
see, this is super easy to go ahead and add issues. Another issue that I will have to do, add Strapi types to Next.js project. And this is something that I will probably have to do myself, because there's one extra step that folks need to take if you've never done it before, but I will submit it. I will actually assign it to myself here, or project. Let's see here for labels, enhancement document. What I need to add, whatever we'll add, that would be a feature, I guess, but I'll add the flags later. But basically, I just wanted to quickly show you the GitHub to show you how easy you could add issues and you could work on them. You could also do PR requests and stuff like that. Were you able to push your code already?
I encountered that very issue. I kind of was worried about. This whole password authentication was removed. So, because I cloned it with HTTPS.
Okay.
So, if you have a quick solve for that, I'm willing to hear it, or I can make sure I clone it again in SSH, not override what my progress has been. Um, let me know if you have any thoughts about that.
Yeah, I mean, you could quickly see if installing the GitHub CLI helps you circumvent that.
Okay.
So if you install GitHub CLI and then you run GHauth login, it will allow you to log in through your browser, and I think it allows you to authenticate as well. And then you'll be able to make that push request. I'm thinking that's how it works. I think that's how I recently did it. That'll probably be
Awesome.
the easiest fix. Otherwise, you
Okay.
probably will have to set up all that other hard stuff.
Cool. I already have the CLI. So what is it?
So
GH.
auth space login, I believe, and then it'll ask you to log in through the browser.
Ah. Let's do SSH. And it's gonna help me choose my cool. Okay. We log in with web browser, and we're on our way.
Nice, nice.
Oh, I need to go to the GitHub app itself.
I might ask you for authenticate, depending how you have two-factor set up.
Mm-hmm.
I might ask you that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that it does it through the
The GitHub app.
app.
Yeah, if you have that installed, yeah.
Okay. Where's it starting from?
While Jay is doing this, I just wanted to show if you're new to Next.js or Strapi, we do have this Next.js corporate starter that you could look at the codes examples to kind of see how the app is built, to kind of see how we use Strapi with Next.js. So let me share it in the chat here as well, but not required. But I just wanted to show you that there's that additional resource if you kind of looking to see how a completed project with Next.js and Strapi would look like. But we're building our own, but it's good to have a reference, especially if it's something new. And then, like Jay mentioned, definitely lean heavy on the Next.js documentation from Vercel. So, Next.js docs. Make sure we're using Next 13, so make sure that's what you're using, like you should. And then you could also go to strapi.io to learn more about Strapi, and you could check out the documentation. I clicked Strapi Cloud, but let's see here, developer docs here, and you could learn more about what we did. And just a quick recap for today's project, what we did is we set up, and I could showcase in the project here before Jay pushes his changes, but we, in our repo, set up our front end and our back end. By the way, cool feature here in your repo. I think if you do command dot or control dot or option dot, I don't know why it's not working, but in GitHub, you should be able to open your project VS Code. I thought it was like command dot, but now it's just proving me wrong. But I think you could change .com to dev, and it's gonna open your project in VS Code. I thought the shortcut was command dot, but we could take a look at, and see our code in VS Code here. So this is before Jay pushes changes, but we created our front end, which is our basic Next.js project. And then we created our backend using Strapi CMS. So we have both those projects already available to us. And in the changes that Jay made, he kind of showed how we could make a GET request to get data from our Strapi backend to our front end, which is pretty awesome. And again, the encouragement here is to have you all participate, build this project with us together if you want. Of course, you don't have to, but we do want to make this a community build project. And also looking at the comments, we have Jimmy here stopping by. Thanks for stopping by. He says, hi all, first time here. Love the setup. I'm 40-year front-end developer. Started my developer journey when I was about 37 years old. That is super awesome. Well, my channel's called Coding After 30, but I didn't start learning to code until I was 35, and I actually got my first job at 39, and I'm now 43, so definitely amongst teammates. Yes. And then private account, I have to go now, but I'll catch up on the stream tomorrow. Good night. Thanks for stopping by, private account. Great to have you here.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, let me know if that worked for you. If not, it's no big deal.
Yeah, man. I'm on my way though. It's a bit more than I thought.
No
would be
worries. I
needed.
know you're in a different machine. So whenever you are able to push the changes, it'll be fine. No rush. But basically, I think for where we are today to finish up the stream, and if you haven't watched the stream, you could always back up watching 2-speed to catch up. But this is our first stream where we are announcing this build in public project. The goal, and if you missed the introduction, Jay runs a Next.js amazing meetup here in Austin, Texas. I met him by going to the meetup, and we decided, hey, let's team up and build something cool together, and let's encourage other people in the community, in the public, to jump in and participate. So even though Jay and I are both committed to building this project for the weeks that we have allowed to it, we actually want to encourage you all to participate and help us build it together. So please do so if you want. And if you want to encourage others to join, feel free to share. But if, Jay, do you want to share the Excalibur notes quickly for just a minute?
Here we are. Let's get there in
Hold
a
on, let me go
moment.
back here. Whenever you get the share, I don't know if you might have to share your
Okay,
screen
you're
again.
almost ready to go. And I'm thinking we have this Excalibur, which is awesome for people to view right now. What if either this Excalibur is publicly available in a way, or we transfer this to either like a Trello board, like the most simplest way to have what we've written down just for people to take a look at.
I think doing it'll be cool to do like a public Trello board. Actually, I think it'll be cool. And that way we could add that. But just to do like a quick, um, yeah, quick review here. If you want to just go quickly to finish up the stream here, let's start under flows and quickly talk through kind of like what we quickly did. If you want to zoom in here.
Yeah, if we talk
So
about flows, um, we achieved viewing events. And actually, we should add what we just did because I talked about some stuff with Next.js, but I mean, there is a flow of creating an event. I don't. Well, I call it submit an event, or rather just call it create to keep using CRUD. Um, Doing them. Anything else you thought would be good?
yeah, no, that's good. And so like basically what we did, we kind of thought through like what our users should be able to do. Once we understood kind of the basic flow for the user, we could like move to the next screen, which is like pages. We kind of identified here, and I don't know if you could scroll, but yeah, thank you. We identify like what routes we're going to have, and on those routes, what are some of the things. So our homepage is going to have a list of feeds. It's going to have a hero section that's going to point to either a sign-in or registration page. We're going to have an events route and dynamic route where people will be able to see all the events in the list, as well as single events details. And for this kind of initial POC, if you will, we're going to have sign-in page, registration page to allow users to sign in or register for the events app. We're going to have a profile, which is just going to, for now, show your name, your email, and all the events you have added. We're going to have not found page and an error page. And this is our kind of like our starting point. And because this is built in public, you're encouraged to go and help us build it. We're going to do a lot of this work asynchronously, trying to be mindful of mine and Jay's time. So our next stream is going to be planned for October 24th, 3 p.m. CST time. But Jay did share his Discord. I'll share the link again. You could also like have the communication. If you're not posting stuff on GitHub, you could bug us on his Discord channel where we are able to continue this conversation and so on. And yeah, I think that's basically it. And anything that I missed, Jay, in terms of?
I think it's great to start wrapping up.
Yeah. Yeah. So the we what we accomplished just quickly, we started a project. We have both our Next.js, we have both our and our backend with Strapi. We were able to fetch our initial events, so we know that both our apps are connected. And so now it's a great jumping point for all of you to continue to build on top of this, to add PRs. And Jay and I are going to do the same. And we'll keep the conversation on GitHub or on Discord. And I guess with that being said, I think we're pretty good for today. And feel free to reach out to us. You could also follow us on Twitter. I'm at coding30.
Cool.
And
And
what's your
yeah,
current? I know you changed up some stuff.
yeah. So from after this, because I just rebranded myself, and Paul is just finding out. Um, I will be using a new name and a new Twitter handle, everything. Silas Path. So at Silas Path is my Twitter handle, and I will be. You'll see me there. So when we heard Jay on the stream, but moving forward, like when we talk on Discord, it's Silas Path in there as well. And by next call, I think we should have that sorted out too.
Yeah,
But
that's my fault. Like it's so my apologies, but we got this now.
oh yeah,
And
it's all good. Just a completely shift for me, and I'm still heavily involved in continuing going to do web development stuff. Um, that's I'm kind of rebranding that as a my skill speed. That is my consulting slash freelancing biz. There is a newsletter for that too. If anyone is still interested in keeping up with me through there, that's at Skill Speed. So at Silas Path, my Twitter handle, at Skill Speed, the newsletter. So that's all I'll have to say about that for now.
yeah, awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us. I had amazing time. Thank you all for being, and we'll see you in the next stream. And don't be shy. Participate on GitHub. Say hello to us on Discord, and we'll see everybody later. So take care, everybody.
Take care.